Hey everyone, Dion here, and today we're going to be taking a look at how to do advanced ROM scraping to add metadata, screenshots, game art, and video previews to your RetroPie games using an app called Skraper. Scraping is an obvious way to polish your retro game library. You can add things like screenshots, title screens, box art, and video previews to your games, along with related metadata such as genre, number of players, developer, and game description. While I covered simple scraping in my last video using the built-in scraper and emulation station, in this video I'm going to cover how to use Skraper with a K to do a more advanced scrape to get additional media for your ROMs. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we need to do is go download Skraper. So let's go ahead. We will get our browser here, and where we need to go is skraper.net. This is their main page here. We'll go to downloads. We'll scroll down a little bit, and yeah, you can see you can get it for Windows, Linux, or Mac. This is Windows, obviously, so we're going to go ahead and get the Windows version. Yeah, it's beta, but it works pretty darn well, so we're just going to go ahead and download it. It takes just a second. So finished downloading. We will jump over to downloads, and there it is. We will go ahead and show in folder. So it's a 7-zip file, so I've got 7-zip installed. We will just extract it to the Skraper folder. You can open that up, and there it is. So I can go ahead and launch Skraper here. You've got a couple of options here. If you've already got an account at ScreenScraper.fr, which is a French-based website where all of the data's stored, you can log in with that, which can be helpful, and I'll explain why here shortly. But what we're going to do here is just go in as a guest. So we're just going to say, yes, I don't have an account and I don't want one. Yes, I'm sure. And next. Having an account is good. This will take a minute to set up, but having an account is good because when you're scraping games, Skraper will only do one game at a time. And so if you've got a large library, that can take a while. But if you go to ScreenScraper.fr and you become one of their patrons, you can unlock multiple threads. So when the application is scraping games in your library, it can do multiple games at a time. So if you've got a massive library, it definitely speeds things up rather than doing it one at a time. So with that being said, we're not doing that many games today, so we don't need to do that. That's something that's up to you. But once it downloads its resources, we will go ahead and yeah, we'll get to the rest of it. All right, now that the download process is done, we can go ahead and get into the setup. Here, you can see that you can use this for a couple of different systems: Recalbox, RetroPie, Launchbox, and then generic emulation. This is kind of if you just want to do it, you got a library sitting somewhere and you just want to scan the games and download metadata. Recalbox is another setup, and also Launchbox is another setup very similar to RetroPie. I personally like RetroPie, and that's what we've set up in my past videos. So we're going to pick RetroPie this time around and go ahead and hit next. Now it's going to ask you for the folders of your RetroPie setup. And as you can see here, it's asking for the Samba folders that RetroPie shares by default. So we can go ahead and click on that, and what we will have to do is, actually, you know what, I know You're not going to be able to browse to it unless you've got, like, you can see it on the network. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type it in here because I know the location of my RetroPie. So my RetroPie, I've already looked at the IP address, and it is at 10.0.0.43. And now that we've got the right directory in there, it says found. So we can go ahead and hit next. Now it's going to ask for the ROMs folder. So we will go ahead and put essentially the same thing in there. ROMs. And we'll tell it to scan that. And it sees all of those folders. But I would only like to do the, well, so these are all the default folders that RetroPie puts in there. They may or may not have ROMs in them. Because it's a clean setup, I know none of these have ROMs in them. None of these directories have ROMs except for the Super Nintendo folder. So you can see that we will be able to select which system we want to scrape after we get through this setup process. So you can see that this has got the default setup right here. It's going to generate a gamelist.xml file. It's going to do a 4-image combination or 4-image mix. So you can see it's got a screenshot of the game, it's got the box art, it's got a cartridge, and then it's got the logo for the game. It's also going to get a video, and then it's going to get a nice marquee. So yeah, we'll go ahead and hit next here. And this is once you got it set up, this is the main interface that you're going to come to when you come into Skraper. So what I'm going to do is come down here in the list, and I'm going to pick Super Nintendo. And just for future reference, if you ever run into any problems or you get the wrong folders or whatever, you can always rerun that wizard that we just went through by clicking on the wizard button down here. Also, if you've got systems in here that you don't want to worry about, you know you're not going to have ROMs for them or whatever, you can always click on that system and remove it. And it will say, are you sure? And I will say yes, because I know that I don't have any of those ROMs in there. But I mean, that's for you guys. So we're going to pick Super Nintendo. Here you can see that for each system, you can give it a specific setup. You can give it one specifically for the Super Nintendo, or if you were to come up all the way to the top and you click on all systems right here, you can set up a global configuration that will kind of trickle down to all of the other systems. So when you're scraping games, you can be sure that the metadata comes a certain way, that it grabs certain screenshots and videos and so on. So what I'm going to do though is just focus on the Super Nintendo. I think I've got about 45 ROMs in my Super Nintendo ROMs folder. And this, you can see that it is looking for these extensions when it's scraping. So FIG, MGD, SFC, SMC, SWC, and zip files. So you can leave your ROMs all zipped up. Most emulators will accept zip, which is kind of nice because some ROMs can get kind of big, especially if you've got a bunch of them. Here you can see that you can sign in to a ScreenScraper account. And like I said before, if you've got an account, because we're using just a guest account, we only have one thread to download metadata and media from ScreenScraper, from ScreenScraper's database. If you were to log in and go support their page, you can get more threads. We're just going to go with the default here. This you don't really need to mess with. I mean, I guess if you've got a special way that you know that you like your game list file formatted, or these are just kind of the default settings for it to grab the game list file and then auto-populate it with the data that it downloads from the ScreenScraper database. Now if we look at metadata, you can see that here you can specify which metadata it grabs and then how you want it formatted. So do you want to leave the name the same as your as it comes from ScreenScraper? Do you want it all lowercase, all uppercase? Same for description, same for the genre. I essentially just leave it how it is. It does a great job of kind of figuring things out on its own, so I don't really mess with it. And then here in the media is where I like to change things up a little bit, because personally I don't like this 4 image mix combination. So I will typically change this and I will set it up to, instead of having the mix, I will switch it to do an image, which is a screenshot of the game. So I like to have a screenshot, and then the video is nice to do a normalized video. What this helps with is to make sure all the videos are the same, they show up the same, they look the same, because it's a community-driven database. Sometimes you never know what people upload, and so it's good to have a normalized video. You can guarantee it's 30 FPS. The sound is 24 kilohertz. So yeah, and then the marquee, basically for RetroPie anyway, you don't need the marquee. So that's one that you can remove by clicking here. So yeah, that's the main part of it here. So you don't need to really change anything unless you're doing like a custom arcade box or something. You probably wouldn't really need to modify like the width or height or ratio or any of that stuff. It again will do a great job just kind of downloading things the way that it's set up by default. And then here on this last miscellaneous tab, you can set how it's going to do its matching. So it's going to look at the file and do a hash of the file, and it will come out with the CRC. Well, it'll do a CRC hash on it and come out with a value that it's going to use to compare against the database to see if it knows what that game is or not. And if the hash doesn't exist, then what it's going to do is use the file name. Now you can come in here and modify this. You can do CRC only, file name only, or both. I would just recommend leaving it alone and do both. So now that we've done that, what we can do is just come down here to the bottom and we say go. And it will jump us over to the progress screen, and then we can watch it. So it's connecting, it's gonna clean out the media folders, and it is going to start downloading metadata. And you can kind of watch it walk through. So on the right side there, you can see what it's downloading. And then at the bottom, you can kind of see what, what games it's finished with. So you can see it's grabbing screenshots now, and also videos and so on. So it gives you some statistics here. So we've made 37 requests. It's downloaded 26 pieces of media, and it's gone through 15, 16 games. So you can see it's getting screenshots, it's getting videos, and it's just going to save those in our local cache. So we will let this chug along. Now that it's finished, we can go ahead and jump over to our RetroPie, and we will be able to see all of this awesome metadata that Skraper downloaded for us. So let's go ahead and jump over there. So you may have noticed when mine finished scraping that it could not restart Emulation Station. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and restart it manually. Say yes. It's going to take a second to restart. And now if we go into Super Nintendo, you will see that it will automatically start playing the videos as we go down the list. Because the metadata and the media exist for that now. You can also change this, like let's say that you don't like the videos, you know, in UI settings here. You can change the view. So because videos exist, because it's set on automatic and videos exist, it's going to pick the video view. But if you want to just do like a detailed view, you can go back here, and now it's just going to show a screenshot. So it'll load a little quicker as we scroll through here. But I definitely like having the video just because it's so nice. It's so pretty. So we'll set it back to automatic. And now, as we go through, oh, we got to go back. Let it refresh. And now, yeah, you can see that you've got videos. So this is a much better way to browse than with just text, especially if you've got kids or, you know, the younger generation who didn't grow up playing these games. They may not recognize a lot of this stuff, and so it's kind of fun for them to be able to go through and find stuff that looks like fun. But yeah, that's it. Simple as that. So you just rinse and repeat for the different systems that you've got ROMs for. And yeah, that is the basic walkthrough of how to do advanced scraping using Skraper. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, it would be awesome if you hit like below. And if you'd like to see more content like this, please subscribe, and I hope to see you again soon.